What's up, y'all? TBrown31 here with JaboctheGreat. Once again, we are back with another episode of The Last Word, and we got another episode of This Week in the NBA for February 27th, 2024, Tuesday night. A bunch of games coming up tonight, but first, we're going to start off with what's been going on since return to action last Thursday. We made a video on that last week, kind of seeing where things are. We had a pretty long discussion about the All-Star break, about the games coming up next. And now we're moving into the last 2 months of the season before the playoffs. So two teams that are obviously pretty big deals, two teams that we expected to be in title contention year in and year out for the past 2 years, the Bucks and the Denver Nuggets. Both these teams started to heat up a little bit since the All-Star break has been over. Bucks right now, they're currently on a 2-game winning streak, your team. We spent more than enough time talking about, Doc Rivers and everything, how that was going. They were 3-7 out of their last 10. I think last time we spoke about them, now 5-5. So again, 2-game winning streak, much better. You'll point out in the second year, the defense definitely tightened up a lot more in these last 2 wins against the Wolves and the Sixers. Flip side though, Denver Nuggets looking more like a championship team. 3-game win streak for them, 6-4 out of their last 10. Right there under the Timberwolves and the Thunder themselves. So, two teams that, again, we're expecting to be in title contention, expect to be a lot better. Heading into this later part of the season, again, the Bucks, Doc Rivers, there's a lot of conversation going on about, how he got the job and everything and blah, blah, blah. I think now that they're getting a little bit more settled in, you could take it from here. I think they'll be a little bit better going forward. At the end of the day, you still have 2 really good superstars in Dame and Giannis. Chris Middleton, whenever he's healthy and he's there and he's playing like he should, they'll be fine. So that defense is really just the main concern. The defense, as you mentioned, tighten up.
Yeah, so those 2 games for the Bucks, really the big thing was that their defense did a lot better. This is a team that had been struggling with Adrian Griffin. That was the one thing that I'll say. We had a 30-13 record when we fired AG, but if you're watching the games, there's a little bit of struggle in defense. Any shot that people wanted, they got, whether it was a 3, whether they were slashing to the basket. Things are going downhill from there. So they immediately play. Arguably, it's another defensive juggernaut. I don't think the Timberwolves are the flashiest offense. But coming off the All-Star break, haven't played team basketball in a little bit. Have to immediately face the number 1 team in the West. They were able to hold them down to 107 points, which is still pretty big. But they come out with a narrow 112-107 victory, and that's what you would think. The defense does pretty well. Giannis, Dame, Bobby, and Beasley, and Lopez all end up actually doing pretty well. So good first game back for them. Definitely a tough test. You still get 30 bombed by Anthony Edwards, but that's going to happen. Cat gets 22, but other than that, they're able to hold the Timberwolves pretty low. Couldn't get Rudy Gobert a whole lot going. He was able to stop him from getting a triple-double. He does get a big double-double. But yeah, defense comes up against another defensive team. Pretty good there. Then they move on and face a notably depleted Sixers who have been kind of weird. And I say depleted, it is just missing Embiid, but that is an MVP candidate anytime he's healthy. So, that's it's a big loss. But the Sixers have been interesting since they've been down with Embiid. They've fallen in the standings for sure, but they sometimes will catch you off guard and get these massive wins. The Bucks, and I think it was a pretty early game. It was like a random noon game on the weekend. We're able to hold off the Sixers pretty well. You got big games from all of the Bucks. The offense was going really good here. You get 30 from Giannis, you get 24 from Dame, you get 20 from Beasley, 17 from Bobby. So 2 games in a row that are good from Bobby Portis is massive. That was a big issue before the trade deadline and All-Star break, is that Bobby Portis had kind of taken a slump since that championship year. Starting to do good. Jay Crowder started, played 25 minutes, did some good work aside from scoring, but did go 0 for 4 and then put up 0 points. Pat Bev in his return to Philly hit 1 basket. Still put about talking about his tour that he's going on. Interesting game to say the least. A lot of this one though is the defense comes up again, right? This Sixers team has been kind of on somewhat of a roll. The last game that we played was in October. It's only a 1-point win for the Bucks, but this one Tyrese Maxey fights for his life, puts up 24 points. The rest of the Sixers can't get anything going. Tobias Harris plays 31 minutes and shoots 3 for 11. That's really big for that Bucks defense. They hold Buddy Hield to 4 for 13. They hold Oubre to 5 for 15, Melton to 5 for 12. So, and it wasn't entirely like the Sixers just throwing up bad shots. There's some pretty good defense there. They were shot checking a little bit though, but really a big thing there is that the Bucks defense has tightened up. For the Nuggets though, and I'll pass it back to you again in just a second. The Nuggets weren't really having like a defense problem when they hit their little slump. Offense just kind of trailed off a little bit, and teams. I mean, you could call it a defense problem. They're getting outscored if you're losing, but it wasn't like the Bucks have had like 150 and stuff put on them. The Nuggets haven't really had that go down, and they do have two not so crazy teams to start this 3-game win streak. But you play who's in front of you, and they did what I think they would be supposed to do against these teams, and a lot of that is because Jokic himself was in this weird little slump, and that's weird to say that his stats weren't really off by that much, but he was down, sure. But he comes back and starts putting up triple doubles again, massive triple double against the Blazers, big one against the Warriors, big game against the Warriors for sure. And so yeah, I think for me, the Nuggets were kind of shaky, and we're starting to look like maybe for that Western Conference. I mean, they're up there now. They're back up to third, sitting right behind the Timberwolves and Thunder, just a few games back, a game and a half. But for me, for a little bit, they were starting to look like maybe they're not the scariest team come playoff time. If they hit a slump like this against one of these playoff teams, it's not going to be good. But I think they've come back after the break, got their offense back together, and have really, 130 points against the Wizards, 127 right after that on a back-to-back against the Blazers, and then they come out and get a 119 and 103 win against the Warriors. I think they've put a lot of those questions behind them. So I don't know if you've seen anything else with the Nuggets on this little run, but for me, it's just that Jokic and his team are starting to get that groove back together. I mean, Jokic was at 32, 16, and 16 against the Warriors. Is just I don't know what you do against that. So that's a tough one. And I think he's finally kind of getting the groove back.
Yeah, I think that's really all it is with the Nuggets. Again, like not to like put down the Bucks anyway. I'm just saying, but Nuggets, they are defending champs. We saw what they did in the finals against the Heat. He went over every single game in that series. Like it's not surprising that they're starting to get back into the groove of things, starting to get to the end of the season. Of course, in the playoff time, expecting to see these guys play a lot better, start to gel a little bit more like they should. So nothing too surprising there. And I guess nothing too surprising here with Miami. You said this, not me. Miami right now is heating up. No pun intended. All pun intended, of course. They are right now on a 4-game winning streak. They haven't lost a game since February 11th, all the way back before the All-Star break that last Sunday. That was against the Boston Celtics, who, of course, right now on an 8-game winning streak of their own. So the Heat, they're doing really well right now. Of course, you had the whole brawl against the Pelicans. That was a little ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie. Like when I go back and watch what really started all of that, like Kevin Love was not. That wasn't a dirty play by Kevin Love or anything. Like it seemed to me more like he was just trying to keep him from falling. But everything,
Zion agreed. So.
Yeah, and Zion generally is pretty calm. Like Zion's not he's a big dude, but he's not some hothead just walking around trying to fight everybody. So, in that sense, I'm glad that was kind of made clear. But brawl still happened. We had suspensions here, suspensions there. We had watch parties for the players that were suspended in a game that they won, which, NBA is such a star league, but it's always interesting to see how well guys step up when the stars get out, whether injury or through suspension like they were here. So again, the Heat, they've been on a 4-game winning streak. Again, last loss against the Celtics, but they beat the aforementioned Bucks right for the All-Star break, as well as the Sixers, of course, Embiid being out. The Pelicans with that game that they had a suspension, the brawl with all the suspensions, I should say, and then being the Kings just yesterday. They've been playing really well. And it seems almost inevitable, even Jimmy Butler's played up into it. Like, hey, the Heat, at some point, they're going to start to get hot. And even though they might be a lower seed in the playoffs, that Heat team, like we had concerns about them, coming out of the offseason. It's like you were the 8th seed coming at the bottom. You did what you did in the first few rounds of the playoffs, and then you let guys go. You don't really keep the team together the way that you had it last year when you had all that success. But with these guys, you never know. They might somehow come up and make another run. I would absolutely love to see another Heat Celtics or Heat Bucks um, playoff series this year. May or may not happen depending on standings. And as of right now, it would be a Milwaukee Miami Heat series, but it's going to be a while before anything gets settled there. But Heat, they're definitely on fire right now, as well as the Toronto Raptors. They are on a 3-game winning streak themselves. Of course, the Raptors, they are not necessarily in the best position right now, 22 and 36. They are 5-5 out of their last 10, but their playoff chances, they're not even play-in chances. They're not really good. Maybe with Trey Young, I just saw he just had surgery for his finger. Maybe with Trey Young being out, the Hawks are right there at the bottom with 25 wins. Maybe things can kind of shake up there. Brooklyn just fired Jacques Vaughn. Things are happening in that little tiny space at the bottom of the East, but it's just hard to say. Either way, Toronto, they are on a 3-game winning streak, playing well. After making some trades, like uh, they traded Pascal, obviously. So they made some moves. They did what they felt like they had to do. But right now, all you can say is they're on a 3-game winning streak, playing pretty well.
Yeah, I mean the craziest thing for that too is going to be like this is their first 3-game win streak of the season. Their coach earlier in the season said, "If we get a 3-game win streak, I'll buy everybody dinner." I saw the video from the locker room where he said that was going to happen. Somebody said pizza party. He clarified in the locker room that he would get them nicer food than pizza, but maybe nothing wrong with a pizza party. It's up to that's between him and his players though. But yeah, their first 3-game win streak of the season comes against some former Raptors. They beat the Nets and take down Dennis Schroeder, and then they beat the Pacers actually on that 3rd game to take down Pascal. Tough wins for them. Unfortunately, like you said, a tough path for them to get to a play-in spot. Maybe with the Hawks out of the way, they're gonna have to move through Dennis Schroeder and the Nets as well, 1 game ahead of them. Or half a game ahead of them actually. So they've got a tough thing to settle here. But I mean, they're also they're in the weird kind of middle spot where they're like they could fight for a play-in spot, and then if they get there, they may have to face teams like the Heat, Pacers, or Magic to get to the playoffs, which is unlikely. I think personally, but they are sort of this last line of defense before you get to like the Hornets, Wizards, and Pistons. Wizards who have lost 10 in a row and are only 1 game above the Pistons. So Kuzma, we talked about this a little bit. His infamous, nobody wants to be that team tweet starting to. It was bad when he said it. It's starting to get worse. But yeah, Raptors are in an interesting place. Happy to see a young rebuilding team get a little spark. But I don't think this season has super high hopes for them. But I think the staff and players know that too, and they're just trying to get something together. The Nets as well are in an interesting place. So yeah. Anyway, we have a pretty action-packed week coming up, and it starts off tonight. Actually, just a little bit after we'll record this video. We'll get the 5 seed Knicks against the 6 seed Pelicans. And no, that's not the same conference. Pelicans are actually tied with the Suns over out west, but they are the 6 seed, and then the Knicks are 4 seed Knicks. Sorry, they're a little bit ahead of the Sixers. There, a little bit behind the Bucks. So 4 seed Knicks in the Eastern Conference have been on a pretty good tear this season. They are 4-6 in the last 10, but good season for them nonetheless. Either way, dealing with some injuries at this current point. And the Pelicans, despite that loss they've lost 2 in a row now. But before the All-Star break, they were doing pretty good, 7-3 in their last 10. So 34-24 Pelicans 6th in the West against the 35-23 Knicks 4th in the East. Should be a pretty good game. Personally, with the injuries and everything, and with the way they play, I actually think the Pelicans could make a splash here and get back into the win column. But I don't know. The Knicks are a tough team. It kind of depends on how well that Pelicans defense can settle in. But I think I'd take the Pelicans in that one.
Yeah, I probably agree there. And then the Pelicans, again, they got the Knicks tonight. They got the Pacers coming up. You got the Kings and the Nuggets, so that'll be a pretty good game out west. And then you also have the Battle of LA. You've got the Lakers and the Clippers. The last time these two teams played, the Lakers got I should say the last time these two teams played, the Clippers got the best of the Lakers that was a month ago. So I'm not going to put too much stock into the game. Just, even before a few weeks before that, Lakers beat them 106-103. So, and it just kind of, for me, it's just like, again, we talked about this last week. Lakers seem like we're just kind of stuck in a rut. Not horrible, but it should be way better than they are. They just lost to the Warriors. LeBron wasn't playing, but regardless, they lost. And another matchup against a team that has clearly been better than them, besides the head-to-head record this year being in the Lakers' favor. Clippers have been far and away better than the Lakers pretty much for the past 2-3 months. So for me, again, I think this is going to be a big statement game for the Lakers. Obviously with where they are in the standings, right above Golden State, 2 games ahead, 2 games behind the Mavericks at 8, and then same record with the Kings. So for me, all these games right here, they mean so much because if you're in that 9-10 playing spot, you lose a game, you're done. So at the very least, you want to try to win when you're in this kind of position, you want to win as much as you can. At least get out of that 9-10 spot. And if you're in the play-in, which to me, a lot can happen because those 4 through 10 slots in the West, it's not, at least 5 through 10, I should say. It's not that far apart from the Suns to the Warriors, only 5 games in the win column. So there's a lot that can happen in that little space there. And just like we were talking about the Pelicans, they played 2 times between now and when we do another video. So
yeah,
a lot can happen, in just a short period of time. But for me, if the Lakers are in that 9 spot, like, I trust LeBron and AD, but I'm not a Darvin Ham hater or anything, but to me, he's probably just not the good right coach for the Lakers, man. Like, I don't know who they'd hire. I mean, you got rid of Vogel a couple years ago to bring in Darvin. Like, he might live off of that Western Conference appearance last year, but I don't know. I think to me, regardless of what happens, unless the Lakers make the Western Conference Finals again, they got to sit down. They got to take some hard looks at what we're doing. There's a lot of talks about LeBron and his extension, possibly. How much that'll be. With his son playing in USC, like all that going on. They got to take some hard looks because to me, it just seems like the Lakers are stuck in limbo. But flip side, Clippers, that can definitely be a statement game for them as well. They just announced, they're doing a whole rebrand, finally embracing the boat status, I guess.
yeah.
But yeah, that'll be a big game for them. They've been playing exceptional. They did lose their last game, but besides that, they've been playing really well this season, especially since they had that little turnaround after they first got James Harden. So that's probably the biggest matchup to me. And I guess it's probably biased because I'm a Laker fan, but I'm sure if it was Bucks Lakers or Bucks Nuggets or something like that, you probably say the same thing.
Yeah, I think if it was a big matchup with the Bucks, even with the Battle of LA, I'd probably have to say oh no, I don't know, man. It might be the Bucks game, but I think it's pretty easily. I mean, the Wednesday game for the Pels Pacers is going to be tough because the Pels are on that back-to-back. I think that's going to be good, but not as good. Kings versus Nuggets is going to be an interesting little streak because the Kings are actually 3-0 against the Nuggets right now, and so it'd be interesting to see if they can sweep them in the regular season. That doesn't mean it'll mean anything in the postseason, but interesting team to have the Nuggets number this season has been really Sabonis has been really good against Jokic this year. Interesting there, but easily the Lakers. There's so much story there, fighting for the same arena. About to have a lot more boat memorabilia in that arena. Yeah, I mean the Clippers, like you said, they've been on a bigger tear this season. They've been clearly the better team so far this season, but they have not swept the Lakers in the season series this year. They actually are down 2-1 in that series. Obviously, those games are a while back, and it doesn't hold as much weight again regular season series. But it'll be interesting to see if they tie it up 2-2 for the Battle of LA in the regular season. If it comes down to a playoff matchup, I think the number is a little funky for those two teams to end up matching up at the moment. But we can see where that goes as it goes from here. But yeah, the Lakers are in a position where every game matters a lot. So are the Clippers in a way. The Clippers being in that kind of 4-way battle for staying in that top 4. I mean, you slip a little bit and the Suns and Pelicans are right on your tail, then you have the Kings and Mavericks sitting right there as well. So Clippers trying to stay up, but the Lakers definitely trying to move to where the Kings and Mavericks are, so that they can be out of that one and done scenario, potential one and done scenario. You'd have to lose for it to be actually one and done. But yeah, I think this is going to be good. That's easily, I think, the biggest matchup of the week so far is going to be the final, the conclusion to the LA battle this season. I don't know. I think the Lakers look pretty good to try to take it. I mean, the Clippers have been on a tear. They just lost a game. They're both actually coming off of a loss here. But I think it'll be fun. I hope LeBron will be playing. I hope that both teams will be healthy. Clippers finally found their groove. Lakers starting to find a little bit of a groove right before the break started. So two very, very hot teams, and trying to see who owns that city. And I think it'll be fun. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a LeBron fan, but I'm gonna go with the Lakers in that one. I feel like they do for one. Take this one 3-1 after the regular season series, but I think it'll be fun.